Hey y'all. So today we're going to discuss the devil in the details in regards to police brutality in America, and specifically in regards to black people in America. So policing in America for me has always been lackluster for black people. That's just our experience, that's our day to day, that's just what we know in America. And the thing is that we rarely sit and just discuss the devil in the details of it. And the devil in the details being the experts that are brought in to whitewash these cases, honestly, is the best way I can describe it. To whitewash these lethal force cases in particular. We need to ultimately take a closer look at these cases. We need to take a closer look at these experts and determine whether we really want that level of expertise in our communities. And if we don't, what do we need to do about that? Because we know that for black people, justice is one of those things that just is rarely swift. And the devil in the details in these police brutality cases is merciless. So, one of those known experts, we're going to call it that, is in these lethal force cases is a retired peace officer, that they call him, or police officer David Blake, retired California police officer David Blake. He is, according to Police One, an expert in human factors and the use of force. So we're going to determine how much of an expert he is, and whether we really need that level of expertise. So with that, retired police officer David Blake gave his expert opinion in two of these cases, these lethal force cases. One of them being the Stephen Clark case, a 22-year-old who was shot in his grandmother's backyard, and also Willie McCoy, who was shot and killed in his car sleeping at a Taco Bell. So, to refresh your memory on the Stephen Clark case, Stephen Clark was a 22-year-old who was fatally shot in his grandmother's backyard in March of 2018 after the police officers responded to a vandalism call. And the officers claimed that he had a gun and that they feared for their lives. But when his body was found riddled with bullets, if I add, was finally rolled over, there was only a cell phone. So they only found a cell phone on this man after they shot and killed him. There was only a cell phone, nothing more. And yes, that was his fiance that I'm showing up underneath, if anyone's wondering. So, interesting enough, in that case of Stephen Clark, it appears that an interesting fact with that is that the coroner's office in that report released stated that they found that he was shot 7 times, 3 of those times in the back. So they shot that man in the back. I want that to be known. They shot that man in the back. And that was in a manner that was consistent with the police account, which is unsurprising. But the most interesting fact of that is that an autopsy that was done commissioned by the Clark's family found that Clark was shot 8 times, with at least 6 of those times being in the back, which is in direct contradiction with the police officer's account. So that's a very interesting point. Which is it's sad because here you have a 22-year-old man, and his life was just snuffed out. And all they can say is that they found a cell phone on him. And then in that case, just if you were able to follow it, it it just made no sense. Like, he was shot in the back. I mean, he was shot in the back, like in his grandmother's yard. And so that, I mean, that's an interesting point to that case. So looking at that, it does look like, okay, so it does look like in that case, trying to find the information from that particular, from David Clark that pretty much corroborates that piece. Give me one moment, y'all. I want to make sure that I have everything that I need on that and make sure that that's correct, definitely. So it looks like for that, okay, so according to Sacramento District Attorney's Office, on behalf of David Blake, who was the expert, quote unquote, in that, this is what is stated here, and I'm just going to read this to you guys. Officers Rabinet and Mercado reasonably perceived and had probable cause to believe that Clark was an immediate deadly threat. Now, they said that he was an immediate deadly threat, and I just told you that this man was shot in the back. But in here, according to Sacramento District Attorney's Office, according to David Blake, they perceived that he was an immediate deadly threat. He was shot in the back, though. But let's continue. Causing them to fear death or serious bodily injury. He was shot in the back. I'm going to continue to say that. He was shot in the back, but they feared a serious deadly injury. Their response in utilizing deadly force is reasonable and in line with contemporary police practices and training. Now, I'm going to say this. If that is in line with contemporary police practices and training, that's really concerning. And that's really something that should be changed. Like, that's ridiculous. You should definitely never be able to shoot someone in the back and then claim that you feared for your life. That's ridiculous. But moving on from that, that's not the only case that this retired California police officer, David Clark, that's not the only case that he was in. Now, moving on from that one, there was a case where the police of Willie McCoy, where the police fired 55 times. 55 times. The police fired 55 times. A 20-year-old aspiring rapper, Willie McCoy, was sleeping in his car at a Taco Bell when Vallejo police shot him. Now, according to David Blake, in a 51-page report, now we're going back to the expert now, according to David Blake, a paid expert, he concludes that the killing was in line with contemporary training and police practices associated with use of deadly force. He also stated that the 55 rounds fired by 6 officers in 3.5 seconds is reasonable. I'm going to read that again. He said that the 55 rounds fired by 6 officers in 3.5 seconds is reasonable. I'm going to pause on that. Exactly. It's very unreasonable. Do you consider that to be reasonable? I don't, but let's move on. Based upon my training and expertise as a range instructor, as well as through applied human factor psychology. So according to what he learned, it's completely reasonable to be sleeping in your car at a Taco Bell and have 6 armed police officers show up and shoot you within 3.5 seconds, 55 rounds. That's completely reasonable. I don't think so, but that's according to him it is. So the 6 officers surrounded McCoy's car with guns drawn after a Taco Bell employee called the police and to report that the man was unresponsive. They reported that he was unresponsive. Now they shot at him 55 times. And the Taco Bell employee reported that he was unresponsive now in his car in a drive-through at a Taco Bell. The police department in the city 30 miles northeast of Sacramento, northeast of San Francisco, has insisted that the officers fired out of fear for their own safety. They fired out of fear for their own safety. Now, how unsafe were they? 6 of them armed with a man that was asleep or unresponsive in a drive-through at Taco Bell. Now, they allege that McCoy had reached for a gun on his lap. Now, that's a very interesting point. Now, some people may say, okay, well, he reached for a gun on his lap. You know what I mean? What exactly is supposed to happen in that case? But no, I'll say that that's not the case. Let's read a little bit more. But body cam footage. All right, now we're cooking with grease now. We're cooking with grease now. So body cam footage released after significant public pressure. So they had to pressure them to release this body cam footage. Now, they're stating that this was perfectly reasonable, but they had to get pressured to release this body cam footage. So let me read on. Cast doubts on part of the police narrative. Interesting. The video only showed McCoy moving his hand to scratch his shoulder before officers opened fire. The police did not try to wake him up or announce that they were officers. They didn't even try to wake that man up or announce that they were officers. So he woke up to being shot, in essence. And his family and their lawyers have said it seemed clear that McCoy was not alert or awake when the police all opened fire. So that's, another interesting point. But according to the expert, it was completely okay for that to have happened. That was completely reasonable. I don't think so, but according to him, it was, and he's stating that he's being, in essence, backed up by the police department and their policy, which means that the policy is wrong. That's just bottom line. So he also states, Blake also goes on to state, no officer extended all ammunition prior to stopping firing, which indicates a level of self-control. Like, did y'all not just hear me read where this man was shot at 55 times? How much control did the officers have when you shoot at this man 55 times? I mean, you killed this man. But they indicated they had a level of control. That's almost laughable. That's insane. So, and then another piece, just to add insult to injury, just to finish this off, to add insult to injury. The footage showed McCoy was asleep for several minutes as officers pointed guns at his head. Also captured a policeman saying, in quotes, "I'm going to pull him out and snatch his ass." This is case closed for me, ladies and gentlemen. Case closed. And according to the experts, and I'm going to keep saying experts because I don't know if I can really trust the expertise of David Blake and friends, when you're saying that it's okay. Like, you're saying that it's in line with contemporary training, as if that makes this man or these men and these women that are getting their lives snuffed out, as if that makes that okay. Ultimately, I'm here for my people, and I want to see us progress. And I think that there are things that we need to do. There are avenues that we need to take. We need to work on how we can make this better and what we need to do. This is me just reporting to you the news and letting you know what's going on out here in Black America. Peace to you.